Go to Wellington, New Zealand, and speak to Bryan Bett, who is a member of New Zealand's COVID-19 Technical Advisory Group. Bryan, thank you so much indeed for your time. While you've been watching over the past 2+ years what's been happening in China and the government's policy, what have your thoughts been about zero COVID as a policy?
Look, I think for many of us in the world, zero COVID as a philosophy did work. However, there is a point that was reached with Omicron, which is much more virulent, much more transmissible, slightly less virulent, where COVID is going to spread. And I think this juncture has really come to a head in China, the only country left in the world that has really adopted or held on to this zero COVID policy. It is inevitable that COVID will spread. And I think that's part of the issue that's being faced now.
Does it say something about the efficacy of Chinese manufactured vaccines, do you think?
There have been concerns, I suppose, around two things. One, the uptake of the vaccine, especially in the over 60s. And remember, the over 60s are that age group that gets predominantly affected by COVID. And secondly, yes, the effectiveness of the vaccine, which is an inactive viral vaccine, is thought to be less than the vaccines that are perhaps used, such as the RNA vaccine or the Pfizer vaccine. So, 60% to 70% with 2 doses, maybe close to 90% with 3 doses. So there are concerns about its effectiveness, especially in that over 60 age group, which is really, really the concern with COVID or Omicron.
Yeah, I mean, regarding Omicron itself, people have been reinfected a few weeks after getting an initial infection of Omicron. Does that mean that zero COVID is actually impossible and that we have to learn to live with COVID and trust the vaccines not to kill as many people as COVID-19 was killing in the initial phases of the virus?
Well, look, I think you're absolutely right. I think COVID cannot be contained. We need to live with COVID, and certainly that's the situation that China is probably moving into. I mean, the situation in China at the moment is potentially a slower vaccine uptake with a slightly less effective vaccine, especially in that older age group. No natural immunity, which is the other real issue they're facing, been very effective with the zero policy, which has gone on. But there is really no herd immunity in China, which is really, really problematic with this very, very big upswing in COVID cases that we're now seeing. It is inevitable that COVID will spread. It is inevitable that there has to be a shift.
You're just breaking up there. I'm really, really sorry to interrupt you. You're just breaking up. But Bryan, thank you so much indeed. Bryan Bett speaking to us from Wellington in New Zealand.
Thank you.